How badly do you want it? Not how badly do you say you want it. How far are you willing to go to achieve the thing you keep dreaming about? Because most people say they work hard. But most people have never met real hard work. They have met effort. They have met discomfort. But real hard work is different. It is not one intense week. Real hard work is continuous focus. It is returning to the same mission when the excitement is gone. It is long hours with no guarantee, lonely nights with no witness. That is the part people do not understand. They want the result. They want the respect. But they do not understand the unseen cost. They do not understand the years where nothing looks like it is working. That is why people confuse long years of consistent, disciplined work with overnight success. They only arrive when the harvest is visible. They see the moment and ignore the years. They did not see the failed attempts. They did not see the repetition. They did not see the seasons where you were working with nothing but belief and a standard. So never be seduced by the phrase overnight success, because most success that looks sudden was built in silence. Most men who look confident are carrying proof that was earned in private. Confidence does not come from telling yourself you are special. Confidence comes from evidence. Evidence comes from execution. And execution comes from doing the thing again and again until your mind can no longer deny what you have become. That is why you must work relentlessly. Not loudly, not for attention, relentlessly. Like a man who understands that his future is being built by what he repeats. Like a man who knows that every hour has a weight. You must move like a man who refuses to confuse busyness with progress. Because there is a difference. Some people are busy because they are afraid to be honest. They fill the day with movement that does not matter. They prepare to work. They organize the tools. They adjust the plan. And they consume more advice. But the true measure of progress is output. Output does not care how exhausted you feel. Output does not care how many hours you sat near the work. Output asks one question: what did you produce? And that question humbles a lot of people, because it separates the man who feels busy from the man who is building. You do not need to worship a busy schedule. You need to produce. You need to find the input closest to the outcome you want and repeat it aggressively. Hard work is not complicated. It is just demanding. It asks you to shrink the delay between intention and execution. When you wake up, begin. When one task ends, move on to the next. When the thought appears, act before comfort can negotiate. The longer you wait, the heavier the work becomes. The task itself may not change, but your mind starts wrapping it in resistance. It becomes bigger because you have delayed it. That is why disciplined men move quickly, not because they feel ready, because they understand the cost of hesitation. They know that delay leaks energy. They know that resistance grows in the space between decision and action. They understand the first victory is often not finishing the work. It is starting before the weaker self takes control. You have to become faster at obedience to your own standards. The goal should determine the work, not your mood or whether you feel inspired. You cannot ask for an extraordinary life while offering ordinary effort. You cannot want the crown and avoid the weight. There is a point where your life must become more focused. There is a point where you have to stop trying to be distracted by everything. Greatness takes too much from a man to be treated like a distraction. You only have so much time, energy, and attention you can give. So choose the few things that matter and give them the kind of devotion that makes excuses uncomfortable. That is what relentless work requires. Not scattered attention. It requires focused endurance, repetition, and refinement. You work hard enough to create volume. Then you learn enough to make every repetition more valuable. That is how progress compounds. You do the work. The work teaches you. You adjust. You return. You become better. Then the same action begins to carry more weight because skill has increased your leverage. This is why the details matter. Hard work reveals details that lazy men never reach. At the surface, everyone thinks they understand. But when you stay with something long enough, the hidden layers begin to appear. You notice what separates average from excellent. You notice where your form breaks. You notice where your focus leaks. That is why most people never become great. They quit before they reach the point where they can notice the small details. They quit while it is still uncomfortable. They quit before the repetition starts teaching them what no advice could ever teach. They think they need more information, but most of the time, they just need more obedience. They already know enough to begin. They already know what they are avoiding. They do not need another secret. They need to do what they keep delaying. And they need to do it without making a ceremony out of it. No drama, no announcement, just work. Quiet, repeated work. Work so consistent that it begins to change the way you see yourself. Because the unseen work is not just building the result. It is building the man. The man who works harder when nobody is watching. That is where your real standard lives. And only you will know whether you have lived up to your own standard. You cannot lie to yourself. You can fool other people. You can make others believe you are giving everything. But when the day ends, you know. You know whether you emptied the tank. You know whether there was more left to give. And that knowledge follows you. Some men win externally and still feel empty because they know they cheated the process. They know they had another level. Do not become that man. Do not become the man who looks successful but knows he lived beneath his own capacity. The real measure is not always whether you beat someone else. Sometimes the real measure is whether you gave everything you had to give. But only you know the truth. And if you can become honest in the unseen places, you begin to change. Because the world cannot easily break a man who has already conquered himself. But understand this. This path will be hard, and it will be lonely. If you work relentlessly, you will lose some comfort. There is a lonely chapter in every commitment. It happens when you no longer fit where you used to be. But you do not yet have the results to prove where you are going. That is a hard place to stand. You have changed enough to feel separated, but not enough for the world to understand why. Your old circle may call you distant. They may call you obsessive. They may say you are doing too much. Some people will support you when you are beneath them, but their attitude may change when your discipline starts carrying you past them. Because some people want you to do well, but not better than them. That truth can hurt if you are not prepared for it. But it should not make you bitter. It should make you clear. Because this path was never about being understood by everyone. It was about becoming who you said you would become. And sometimes the price of growth is being misunderstood for a while. That is what makes the dream lonely. You can see it before anyone else can. You can feel its weight before anything is changed. So for a long time, the only applause may be your own. The only belief may be your own. And that has to be enough. At least in the beginning. You have to be the first person rooting for yourself. And this is where many people break. Not because the work is impossible, but because the feedback is delayed. They become disciplined for a season and expect the world to notice. They do the right things for a short time and then lose faith when the result stays quiet. But the bigger the goal, the longer the delay. There can be a long distance between behaving like a winner and publicly becoming one. That distance is the test. That delay is where your identity is proven. Can you keep the standard without immediate reward? Can you keep working without constant confirmation? Because although it may not look like it, something is happening. You are being formed. Your skill is growing. Your tolerance is expanding. That is your foundation. And foundations are always buried. No one praises the foundation while the house is still invisible. But without it, nothing stands. So stop needing the early stage to look impressive. Treat it like practice. Treat it like pre-season. The early repetitions may look small. The first numbers may look embarrassing. But every rep is shaping something. Every attempt gives you more information. Do not despise small beginnings. Because small things stacked daily become proof. And proof becomes confidence. This is how a man becomes relentless. Not by feeling powerful every day, but by building so much evidence that quitting starts to feel unnatural. And whether you decide to work hard or not, the pain will be there either way. That is another truth most people avoid. Growth hurts. Stagnation hurts. Decline hurts. Every path has pain. So stop treating pain as proof that something is wrong. Sometimes the discomfort means you are being stretched. The loneliness means the old life is losing its grip. The question is not whether you will suffer. The question is whether your suffering will build you or waste you. If you choose comfort, you will still suffer. You will suffer the slow ache of unused potential. You will suffer the quiet resentment of knowing you could have done more. You will suffer the weight of watching other people live the life you've always dreamed of. But if you choose the work, the pain becomes useful. It becomes training. It becomes the fire that turns weakness into structure. That is why relentless work is not punishment. It is preparation. It prepares your mind for pressure. It prepares your hands for responsibility. It prepares your character for the life you keep asking for. Because the life you want will not be carried by the version of you that keeps negotiating. It will require a stronger, quieter, more focused version. A version that understands the goal is not to look like you are working hard. The goal is to become the kind of person who cannot live any other way. Hard work itself must become part of the reward, because if the only goal is the trophy, you may feel empty when you get it. If the only goal is applause, you will feel lost when the room goes quiet. But if the goal is to empty the tank with honor, then every day gives you a way to win. Every day becomes an arena. And that is a powerful way to live. Not easy, but powerful. Because now your victory is not delayed until the final result. Your victory begins in the work itself, in the hour you did not waste, in the promise you kept when nobody would have known if you broke it. That is how self-respect is built. And a man with self-respect becomes difficult to stop. So do not wait for the world to take you seriously. Become undeniable. If people do not respect your skill yet, build more skill. If people do not recognize your effort yet, produce more output. Listen to feedback from people who know what they are talking about. But do not bend your life around the opinions of people who benefit from you staying the same. Going back to your old life may feel comfortable, but it is still the same road. And you already know where that road leads. You have lived enough of that pattern. You have felt the frustration of unused potential. You know there is more. But more demands more. More focus, more patience, more sacrifice. So work relentlessly. Work when it is boring. Work when it is lonely. Work when progress is invisible. And when the day ends, ask yourself one question. Did I empty the tank? Did I give everything I had to give? If the answer is no, be honest. Then come back tomorrow with a higher standard. If the answer is yes, rest with dignity. Then rise again. Because relentless work is not one day of intensity. It is a life of return. Again and again. Until the unseen years begin to speak. Until the relentless work becomes the foundation of your success. And when they finally call it overnight success, let them. Because you will know the truth. You will know the hours. You will know the silence. You will know the price you had to pay. And because you paid it, no one can take the result from you. That is the quiet power of relentless work. It builds something deeper than success. It builds a man who can carry success without being owned by it. So ask yourself again, how badly do you want it? If you only want the reward, you will quit when the work becomes lonely. If you only want the image, you will fold when the process becomes ugly. But if you want the work, truly want it, then you are already becoming different. Because the man who learns to love the process becomes hard to defeat. He does not need perfect conditions. He does not need constant praise. He just needs the standard. He just needs the next task. So give it that. Give your future one more honest day. Then another. Then another. And let the work compound. Because greatness does not arrive for the man who merely wants it. It arrives for the man who raises his standards.